Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. And yes, you are dialed into the Talking Heads show, where Dr. Jacqueline is behind the scenes, pressing all our buttons, and of course, giving us this wonderful platform on which to educate. And I am Mariska du Preez, here to take us a little step further on our leadership journey and seeing how all of these things work concerning leadership and taking that next step from specialist to leader, and all the little pitfalls that we can hopefully sidestep now thus far. So we have so far 5 lessons that we've covered within this space. And today we're going to do lesson number 6, wrapping it nicely so that we ensure that we not only get on the train, but stay on the track for our leadership journey going forward. Now, this is going to be a really interesting and hopefully a little bit revealing piece of content that you guys will get today. And I have a few quizzes in there as well. So we're going to test your, well, not necessarily knowledge, but rather give you a little bit of a brain teaser so that we can see what you think. So with that all set up, let's jump into our content today. So as I mentioned, this is lesson number 6, and we are looking at leadership and integrity, and where it is that we are focusing. Now, as leaders, integrity, especially new leaders, might not be the thing that we think of first. And I thought that might be just why we need to put this into our total syllabus on this specific subject matter. So what have we covered thus far? We looked at getting that promotion. Yay, we have moved from being a specialist into our leadership role. We are now a brand new leader. We looked at the skill sets that we might need in our second lesson. We then looked at how our relationships change with our teammates and other people that we interact with. We also looked at the fact that, well, as a leader, we do not do it ourselves anymore, so no more DIY. Then, last time around, we looked at our presence and influence in order to help us function more fully as a leader. And today we are looking at integrity. So really having integrity within our leadership role. And remember, because we are moving from being a specialist into a leadership space, some or all of these things will be things that we are going to, at some point throughout this journey, struggle with a little bit more sometimes and a little bit less sometimes, depending on how much exercise we got on them beforehand. So that is another thing that is wonderful about this platform. You can always go back and watch the episode again. Then, for today, we know we are still on track. We got the ticket. We didn't derail so far. Everything is working. We are happy. Our team members are working the way that they should supposed to work. And hopefully we have smiling faces all round. Now, this may or may not last, depending on how we handle this next little piece. And it's not necessarily something that comes in that we can do and then not do. This is more of a continual practice, as is literally most of the things that we covered. So let's see what William Gantry found from one of the CEOs that he interviewed. And this CEO quoted that, "You will be confronted with questions every day that tests your morals. The questions will get tougher and the consequences will become more severe." So you might not think this at the moment, but as you go up that corporate ladder, more severe, then think carefully. And for your sake, do the right thing, not the easy thing. And we will come back to that lesson a little bit later again and unpack it a bit more. So we now see that higher up, integrity does seem to have an influence, and the tougher the questions, the more important it becomes. So what did these guys find? So what William did is him and a few of his teammates did studies on leaders. So they took the work from positive psychology. So within that space, we have discovered that there is 24 human traits that we all will utilize at some point and in various degrees. So what they did is they looked at really good leaders and which of these traits normally show up most. They found that there was 4 that stands out most. So it's bravery, it's perspective, it's integrity, and then it is also our own self-regulation on our emotional intelligence side or social intelligence. So that's the 4 main ones that they found. And then they thought, well, okay, we find that within the leadership space. How does it actually look in the different levels of leadership? So if I am a new leader, how might this show up? If I'm a middle leader, how might this show up? And if I am at the top, so I am the CEO or I'm within that top band, how exactly does this show up? And this is now where the quiz piece come in. So what they did is they went through all these different levels, and at the top level, they worked with 191 top leaders to find out what was the most important, not only for the leader, but also for their teams. They did the same with the middle group. There they had about 246 people that they interviewed. And then they also did this with brand spanking new leaders. They tested around about 300 people. So as you will notice, yes, there's a little bit of a pyramid. There is not so many people at the top of it as we have new leaders stepping into leadership. So, well, Not all of us make it. And with that, let's then see exactly what you guys think for our top band is that most important characteristic or trait that leaders need to develop in order for them to get there. Is it A, perspective, B, integrity, C, bravery, or D, social intelligence? What do you think? For the top band. Well, the answer is B, integrity. And what do we mean by integrity when we say integrity? Well, it is acting in accordance with our stated values. So whatever we say our values are, really acting in accordance with that. Now, for some people, that might be a little bit difficult because they physically don't know what their values might be. So how do they act according to them? Well, luckily, most of us in general normally act according to our values when we are acting. And, little caveat, also a bit of self-preservation. So it depends on when it is that you are taking the action. Are you in flight and fight mode, or are you acting from your higher self? When we are acting from our higher self, it will definitely be from our value base. When we are fight or flight, we are really just trying to survive, and we might not be acting according to our values. Then the next piece of integrity to take into consideration is our words equal our actions. So we say what we do and we do what we say, right? We don't stand on a little pedestal preaching and then go off and do something quite different. And the last thing, and this is where those tough questions come in that we saw in our quote, is really around ethics and taking that ethical considerations when we are making decisions and taking action. So we make sure that this isn't a me-only decision and action. It is a us decision and action. Really looking at the benefit and the impact for the wider system. That is part of integrity. Now, you may and or may not know a couple of leaders that does this really well. And then I'm sure you are aware of a couple that does this really poorly. And hopefully the ones that do this really poorly are not in this top band. But we do know that when they are in this top band, normally it shows up as very horrible things that happen with the organization, and we can see organizations having a downfall when their top leadership do not actually employ this piece. Now that is the top leaders, which I know we're currently not at because we just moved, right? Let's find out then what the middle leaders normally need to focus on. So characteristics, the most important characteristics for that middle level, again, is that A, perspective? Is it B, integrity? Is it C, bravery? Or is it D, social intelligence? What do you think? Random picking? Yeah, okay. So with our random picking, if you picked D, social intelligence, you would be correct. So what they have found within this study is within the middle piece, social intelligence was the most important one that came out. It's not that the other ones weren't important, but they weren't as important, because within that band, the team and the other people that the leader worked with really needed to feel that they were understood. So what do we mean by social intelligence? This is really understanding our own impact on the situation and on the people around us. So our team members or other stakeholders within that space. What makes all of us tick? So understanding what makes ourselves tick, as well as understanding what is making the other people in my environment tick. Because remember, one of those things about leadership is motivation. And if we don't know what makes people tick, how will we know how to help motivate them? Then that brings us to the last one, which is understanding motives and feelings of everybody involved and how to adapt our own behavior to get the best out of the people around us. So that is all about social intelligence. So understanding ourselves and our impact on the system, and how to be able to really navigate the system in an impactful way. So that's the middle management piece of things. Now, as a new leader, you might still be thinking, okay, so now I know if I want to shoot for CEO, I know I need to focus on integrity 100% of the time. If I'm going to shoot for middle management, social intelligence definitely top of my list. It's something that I need to get sorted out. But if I'm a new leader, what do I need to do there? Well, if you are a new leader, I have semi-good and semi-bad news for you. It's actually all four of them. So as a new leader, one of the reasons why integrity didn't necessarily score as high, it still scored, but not necessarily as high, is because we assume when you become a leader, you have integrity. We find out that some people, when they become leaders, don't have integrity, right? And they will not necessarily stay within that space for very long, or they might become a toxic boss. And that's not what we want for you. We want you to be the boss that everybody wants to work for. So developing our integrity skill set is really, really good for us. Plus, we also now see that having high integrity will help us to go up that chain. And that may or may not be something that you want, but definitely something to consider. And also, integrity is one of those things that it takes time for us to develop. It is a skill that not a lot of people develop early on, and it is something that we need to develop over time. Understanding that if we don't, it will bite us at some point, right? So this is definitely one of those pieces that if we don't look at it, it is going to derail our little train at some point. Then, of course, being brave in all manner of ways of being brave, being able to speak up, being able to take the steps even when we're scared. That is part of leadership because, well, sometimes we need to forge the way. It is not only that we can support our team, but we also need to show them that this is possible. Perspective taking, of course, it is about being able to put ourselves in another person's shoes and looking from a different point of view, which helps us with our social intelligence. And social intelligence, You may or may not be aware that this is one of the things that most people focus on the most. So for new leaders, social intelligence, emotional intelligence, that realm is something that you can definitely get loads and loads of resources on. But yeah, we do need to get all 4 of them covered. Now, great, we know that we need to get all 4 of them covered, and we do know that integrity is, of the 4, most probably the one that can derail us, especially higher up, the most. How do we develop this? Where do we start? And I didn't want to leave you guys hanging, so I also do not want you to be like, well, the boss, yeah, on this little slide, he's not great, no integrity there, and we don't want you to be like that guy. So, for us to develop our integrity, what do we need to do to make it happen? And you might see that the right isn't equal to easy is a part of this, but it's not all of it. So first off, we need to build it daily. Yes, build it into your routines, build it into the way that you are thinking about the decisions that you are making, the actions you are taking, and you will see throughout this training there is a little golden thread running straight through that is helping us to focus from ourselves and take that focus and move it and be able to focus on others and on our team. Because this really helps us to understand the system in which we are now operating versus being the sole contributor in the space we used to basically function in. What is then the next one? Yep. Do the right thing, not the easy thing. We will, along the way, find a lot of places where, well, it's just easier doing it this way. It's always been done this way. You can think of a million excuses why we can do it this way. Is it the right thing to do? It might not be. So really think for ourselves whether this is right for our team, for our organization, for our greater environment, so the community in which we are operating in, the world that we are operating in. So doing the right thing, not the easy thing. Then the next one is, yeah, does it have a stamp of approval? Now, it doesn't matter who the mentor or important person is in your life. It might be your mom, it might be your grandmother, it might be somebody quite different. But think about that person. If I make that decision, will they give me a stamp of approval? Will they think that what I'm deciding is a really good thing for us as a community, for us as a team, for me as an individual? So really thinking about the whole ecosystem, so to speak. Then the other important piece around integrity is promising and delivering. You may have heard about over-promise and under-deliver. Now, over-promise and under-deliver does not integrity make. So be sure that whatever the promise is, you are able to deliver that. If you are not sure that you can deliver that, say it up front. Make sure that they know what to expect, because that is really all anybody can ask for. But do not promise something that you know for a fact it's not possible for you to do that, because that will definitely give your integrity a knock and put some unwanted stuff on your train tracks that might later on derail you. So we don't want that to happen. And then, of course, because that is one of the things that we are continuously doing, is that it is the ingredient to trust. If I'm working with a person that has integrity, I know that their words and their actions match. What they promise is actually what will get delivered. I know that they do the right thing, even if it is not the easy thing, especially when it isn't the easy thing. I know I can trust this person. I know they won't stab me in the back. They will let me know, hey, this isn't right. We can't be doing this. Or this is what we will be doing, and we actually deliver on it. It builds trust. It's a very, very integral ingredient to trust. And going back to some of our other lessons, we know that within our teams, for a strong team, we need trust. It's one of our very, very first things that we need to actually get right. So in order for us to build strong trust, we need integrity. So you see how this integrity thing can actually blow into other areas of things that we are doing, whether we want to be conscious of it or not. It is something that is really, really important for us to take note of. And that is then all the tools and tricks that you need as a new leader to be able to take you up and cultivate your leadership skills. We have 6 now lessons that you can go through and utilize them to upskill yourself. And yes, even when we go from brand new leader into our middle leadership piece, it would also be good to go through these lessons again, because they always stay relevant. So with that, we are at the end of this lesson series. And if you would like to get hold of me, or if you have any questions that you would like some answers to, or for us to explore a little bit more, you are more than welcome to get hold of me via my email address, which is mariska@journey2discover.com, or alternatively, please connect with me via LinkedIn and let me know that you got hold of me here on USA Global TV and Radio, and I would love to answer any questions you might have and explore how we can level up your leadership. And with that, it is the end of our lesson today. Until next time, bye.